Oh, hello again. Another story. This one is called Taking the Ball Back. It was inspired by the 2010 election when Gordon Brown called one of the electors a bigot because they voiced concerns over the number of immigrants that were coming into the country. Taking the ball back is usually what someone does when they're losing the game. Take the ball back. So, Taking the Ball Back, written by me, read by me, Al Donaldson. When he awoke, he realized he was sitting up and it was dark. As his senses returned, he realized why it was dark. He had a cloth sack over his head. He raised his hands to remove it and found his wrists were bound and he couldn't raise his arms. He could hear a constant droning noise and at first thought he was on a bus, but dismissed it as he wasn't being jolted. He was on a plane. He tried to remember everything that had happened to him. The last thing he could recall was that he'd finished his shift. He'd returned home to his flat. He'd been alone, and the doorbell had rung. There had been a woman, that said she needed his help. It sounded urgent, and he'd followed her downstairs. She'd said her aunt had fallen over, and could he help her to get up? As he walked through the door, he felt a prick in his neck, and then nothing. Someone stood in front of him. The bag was pulled from his head. The cabin was gloomy. He was on a cargo plane. And seated all around him and opposite were people just like him, sitting with their wrists manacled together with plastic ties, all wearing a bag on their heads and a chain threaded through their arms. Good, you're awake. What am I doing here? What's going on? Questions, questions, questions. That's all you people ever ask. Tell me your name. Abdullahi Vuza. The man looked at a clipboard. Yep, correct, and ticked it off. What is this about? Why have I been kidnapped? I have no money. My family have no money. They can't pay any ransom. This is a big mistake. Let me go. Sorry, old son, you've not been kidnapped. Someone behind him shouted something. The man turned and swatted him on the head of the clipboard. Shut up, he yelled. He turned to Abdul. As I said, you've not been kidnapped. You're going home. What do you mean, going home? I live in Preston. Well, you ain't going back there, sunshine. You're on your way to sunny Somalia. But I live in the UK, in Preston. I've not been to Somalia for years. I don't want to go back. Take me back to the UK. Well, that's just not going to happen. I pay taxes. I pay national insurance. I've got permission to stay. Who are you to say that I don't belong? I do. We're fed up with this government. We're fed up with the easy way they allow people to just come, take our homes, our jobs. There's only so many you can fit into a tiny island like ours. So we're doing something about it and taking our country back because we're fed up. You guys think you're flame-proof, always playing the race card. We've had enough. I have rights. This is against the Human Rights Act. And what about our rights? The people born in the UK can't rent a house, can't get an appointment with a doctor, can't get our kids into schools. And when they do get into a school, the school teaches your culture, your religion. You're a racist. That's where you're wrong. I'm only taking back what is mine. I don't want to share anymore. Surely I have a right to do that, haven't I? I'll go to the British Embassy in Mogadishu. I'll tell them how you kidnapped me and brought me to Somalia. You could do that, and many do. But all trace of you in the UK has been erased. I paid tax. I paid national insurance. I have a social security number. All erased. You think it's just me? We have people working in most of the civil service departments. How do you think we got air clearance to fly you here? We have some pretty high-powered people. As I said, you go to the British Embassy. We've repatriated over 15,000 people all over the world, and not one has come back. If I was you, I'd just get some sleep. We'll be there in a couple of hours. Abdul had the bag put back over his head. He tried to understand what was happening to him. What was he going to do in Somalia? He shouted through the bag. What am I supposed to do in Somalia? The answer in his right ear made him jump. Exactly what you've been doing in the UK. I work in a pizza restaurant. So work in one in Somalia. And if there isn't one, start one. Just don't come back. The conversation was over. He must have fallen asleep. He felt the lurch, and he started to lean at an angle. They were descending. A voice came over a loudspeaker. In a few moments, we'll be landing. The chain will be taken away so you'll be able to stand. There is a bladed hook at the rear of the plane. When the bay doors open, make your way out and cut the zip tie around your wrists. And then leave. We'll be on the ground for 1 minute. If you don't leave, the bay doors will close and we'll take off and on the return flight, we'll open the bay doors at 25,000 feet. You'll pass out and we'll go into a steep climb and you'll just roll out. We tend to do this over the Mediterranean. We know all the tricks you guys try and pull, so don't. The plane landed, the chains were pulled away and the bay doors opened. Everyone stood and pulled the bags off their heads. Abdullah saw men, women, children, all looking scared. Go on, get going, the clock's ticking. Abdullahi and the others found the bladed hook welded to the fuselage and uncut their zip ties. Outside the air was warm, it was dark. A voice from the plane said, "You know how it felt when you made it to the UK? The uncertainty, the unknown. Well, I bet you feel the same now. Good luck." The bay doors closed and the plane rolled back along the runway and took off. Abdullahi saw the lights of vehicles heading towards them and wondered what was in store. Hope you enjoyed that. It's different story, bit quirky, but interesting. Food for thought, and I wrote it long before they thought about Rwanda. Anyway, see you next time. Bye-bye now.